They say justice is blind. But when you slap it across the face, it sees everything. Officer Sally McGinnis thought her badge was a shield. She thought 18 years on the force made her untouchable. She thought an elderly black woman in a parking garage would be too afraid to fight back. She was wrong. Dead wrong. Because the woman she just assaulted isn't some random defendant. She's the Honorable Karen Guyon, Federal District Court Judge. And in less than 3 minutes, Sally's entire world is going to collapse. Watch closely, because what you're about to witness is a masterclass in how quickly power can turn to dust. This is how a career dies. The late afternoon light filtered through the concrete levels of the Franklin County Courthouse parking garage. It was October 12th, one of those rare autumn days when the humidity still clung to the air, making everything feel heavy and slow. Officer Sally McGinnis stood near the elevator bank on level 3, her arms crossed, her jaw tight. She'd been working courthouse security detail all week, a rotation she despised. Too much standing around. Too many lawyers in expensive suits looking down their noses at her. Sally had been on the force for 18 years. In that time, she'd built a reputation. To her supervisors, she was no nonsense. A cop who didn't let people walk all over her. To the public defenders and social workers who saw her in action, she was something else entirely. A bully with a badge. She was the type of officer who forgot to read Miranda rights, who found reasons to escalate minor infractions, and who seemed to have a sixth sense for when someone was disrespecting her authority. The complaints had stacked up over the years, but nothing ever stuck. The union backed her. The numbers protected her. 18 years of arrests and citations built a wall she thought was impenetrable. She checked her watch. 4:47 p.m. Her shift ended at 5. Just 13 more minutes of this glorified babysitting. Then she saw her. An elderly black woman in an elegant mauve suit emerged from the courthouse's interior entrance, walking slowly toward the parking area. She carried a leather briefcase in one hand and was scrolling through her phone with the other. She looked tired, dignified, but tired. Sally's eyes narrowed. She recognized that walk, the kind of deliberate, careful gait of someone who thought they were important. Earlier that afternoon, in the second-floor corridor outside courtroom 4B, this same woman had brushed past Sally without saying, "Excuse me." Sally had noticed. Sally always noticed. In her mind, the calculation was automatic. Older black woman, expensive suit, probably some welfare fraud defendant who got lucky with a public defender and beat her case. Now, work here. Sally's lip curled. Doing what exactly? Because I saw you on the second floor earlier, and you nearly knocked me over without so much as an apology. Judge Guyon blinked, genuinely confused. I don't recall that. If I brushed past you, I apologize. It's been a long day. It's been a long day, Sally mocked, her voice dripping with contempt. You think I care about your day? You think you can just walk around here like you own the place and disrespect law enforcement? Officer? Judge Guyon said, her voice calm but firm. I don't know what this is about, but I assure you, no disrespect was intended. If you'll excuse me, I'd like to go home. She turned back to her car. I didn't say you could leave, Sally snapped. She grabbed Judge Guyon's arm, spinning her back around. Show me some ID. Now. Judge Guyon pulled her arm free, her eyes flashing. You have no lawful reason to detain me. I have committed no crime, and I am leaving. Something snapped in Sally. It was the tone, the confidence, the complete absence of fear. This woman was looking at her like she was nothing, like the badge meant nothing. You don't tell me what I can and can't do, Sally hissed, stepping even closer. You people always think you're above the law, that you can talk back to officers and just walk away. Well, not on my watch. You people, Judge Guyon repeated, her voice dropping to ice. Officer, I suggest you step back and reconsider your approach. My name is Judge Karen Guyon. I am a federal district court judge, and you are currently violating. Judge. Sally laughed, a harsh, ugly sound that echoed off the concrete. You look more like a defendant than a judge. What did you do? Steal someone's ID? Is that what's in the briefcase? Stolen property? I am going to give you one more chance, Judge Guyon said, her voice steady despite the rage building behind her eyes. Step away from me. Now. Sally felt her face flush red. The audacity, the absolute nerve of this woman to threaten her, to speak to her like an equal. Without thinking, or maybe thinking exactly what she'd always thought, Sally raised her hand and slapped Judge Karen Guyon across the face. The sound cracked through the parking garage like a gunshot. Judge Guyon's head snapped to the side. Her reading glasses flew off and clattered to the concrete. A thin line of blood appeared at the corner of her mouth where her lip had split against her teeth. For 3 long seconds, the world stopped. Sally stood there, breathing hard, her palms stinging. She expected tears. She expected the woman to crumble, to beg, to finally show the fear and submission Sally thought she deserved. Instead, Judge Karen Guyon slowly turned her head back. She didn't touch her bleeding lip. She didn't reach for her glasses. She just looked at Sally with an expression that wasn't anger or fear. It was pity. And beneath that pity was something far more terrifying. Absolute certainty. That, Judge Guyon said quietly, her voice steady as a gavel strike, was the worst mistake of your life. Sally's chest heaved. Panic mixed with rage. A toxic cocktail that made her reach for her handcuffs. You're under arrest, she shouted, her voice shaking. Assaulting an officer. Resisting. Disorderly conduct. You're done. She grabbed Judge Guyon's wrists and wrenched them behind her back, slapping the cuffs on so tight they bit into the skin. Judge Guyon didn't resist. She didn't scream. She just stood there, silent and still, as Sally shoved her toward the elevator. As they waited for the doors to open, Sally caught her reflection in the polished metal. She looked powerful, strong, in control. She had no idea that the parking garage had 16 security cameras, 3 of which had captured the entire encounter in high definition. She had no idea that Judge Guyon's Apple Watch had already sent an automatic fall detection alert to her law clerk, along with her exact GPS coordinates. And she certainly had no idea that she had just declared war on the one woman who had the power, the connections, and the absolute moral authority to end her. The elevator doors opened. Sally pushed Judge Guyon inside. And as the doors slid shut, the judge spoke one more time, her voice soft but clear. You should have walked away, Officer McGinnis. You should have walked away. The courthouse security office was chaos. Sally marched Judge Guyon through the back entrance, her hand gripping the judge's upper arm hard enough to leave bruises. She was sweating now, her mind racing. She had to control the narrative. Had to make sure everyone understood that this woman, this lying, disrespectful woman, had attacked her first. Got a live one here, Sally announced to the security desk, where Officer Jamal Matthews sat reviewing camera feeds. Assault on a law enforcement officer, resisting detention, trespassing. Jamal looked up from his monitors. He was a younger officer, only 3 years on the force, and he'd learned early to just nod and process whatever the senior officers brought in. But when he saw the woman in handcuffs, his face went pale. Officer McGinnis? That's... Book her, Sally interrupted. I want her in a holding room until we can transfer her to county. And I want her belongings inventoried. She's been making threats, claiming to be... Judge Guyon, Jamal whispered, standing up from his chair. That's Judge Guyon. Federal bench. "Oh my God, Sally, what did you do?" Sally's stomach dropped. "What?" Behind them, the elevator dinged. The doors opened, and 3 people stepped out. A courthouse security supervisor, a federal marshal, and Judge Guyon's law clerk, a young woman holding a tablet that displayed live security footage. The supervisor, a man named Robert Chen who'd worked courthouse security for 22 years, walked directly up to Sally. His face was ashen. "Officer McGinnis," he said quietly, "I need you to remove those handcuffs from Judge Guyon immediately and step away from her. She assaulted. We have it on camera." Robert interrupted, his voice shaking. "All of it. The parking garage. Every word. Every movement. The slap." He looked at Judge Guyon, his eyes full of apology. "Your Honor, I am so sorry. Medical is on the way." Sally felt the floor tilt beneath her. She was resisting. "I had probable cause to." The federal marshal, a woman named Patricia Owens who'd known Judge Guyon for 15 years, stepped forward. She wasn't smiling. "Officer Sally McGinnis, you are under arrest for assault and battery on a federal official, violation of civil rights under color of law, and false imprisonment. You have the right to remain silent." Sally's hands shook as she fumbled with the handcuff key, releasing Judge Guyon's wrists. The judge rubbed the red marks calmly, still not showing a single tear. As Patricia recited the Miranda rights, and another officer, someone Sally had worked with for years, took her service weapon and badge, Sally looked at Judge Guyon one last time. The judge met her eyes. "I told you," Judge Guyon said softly. "You should have walked away." By 5:15 p.m., Sally McGinnis was in a holding cell. By 6 p.m., the courthouse footage was in the hands of the FBI. By 8 p.m., it was on every major news network in the country. And by the time Sally's public defender arrived the next morning to tell her that the police union had declined to provide representation, and that she was facing up to 10 years in federal prison, Sally McGinnis finally understood what Judge Karen Guyon had known from the very beginning. Power isn't a shield. It's a loan, and the bill always comes due. Sally McGinnis's day had started the way it always did. Black coffee, no sugar, and the morning briefing where Captain Rourke talked about community policing like it meant something. Sally tuned him out. She'd heard it all before. 18 years taught you what actually worked on the streets, and it wasn't handing out basketball tickets and smiling for photo ops. She climbed into her patrol car at 6:47 a.m., the city still half asleep. Her assigned area was the Southside District, what she privately called the war zone. High crime, low cooperation, the kind of neighborhood where people looked at you like you were the enemy, not the solution. Sally had stopped trying to change their minds years ago. Respect through fear worked better than respect through trust. By mid-morning, she'd pulled over a teenager for a broken taillight. Officer Devin Marshall, her rookie partner for the week, shifted uncomfortably as Sally ordered the kid to empty his pockets on the hood. McGinnis," Devin said quietly, "the taillight thing. We could just give him a warning, right? He's 17, no priors. You'll understand when you've been doing this as long as I have." Sally cut him off, her eyes never leaving the teenager's shaking hands. "You have to show them who's in charge from the start. Otherwise they walk all over you. They test you. And the second you blink, you lose the street." Devin said nothing. He'd learn. They all did eventually. Either you got hard or you got out. Sally wrote the ticket slowly, deliberately. The kid said, "Yes, ma'am," and "No, ma'am," and never made eye contact. Perfect. That's how it was supposed to work. By 4:47 p.m., Sally's courthouse security rotation was almost over. 13 more minutes. She stood near the elevator bank on level 3 of the parking garage, arms crossed, watching lawyers and clerks filter out for the day. Then she saw her. The elderly black woman in the mauve suit. The one who'd brushed past her on the second floor without apologizing. Sally felt the familiar heat rise in her chest. Disrespect. Always disrespect. The woman was walking toward a silver Lexus, scrolling through her phone like she didn't have a care in the world. Sally pushed off the wall and followed. "Excuse me," she called out, her voice sharp. "Mum, I need to speak with you." The woman turned, her expression neutral. "Yes, officer?" Sally stepped closer, invading her space. "You were in the courthouse today. You nearly knocked me over earlier." "No apology." "Nothing. I don't recall that," the woman said carefully. "If I brushed past you, I apologize. It's been a long day." "It's been a long day," Sally mocked. "Show me some ID. Now." The woman's eyes hardened. "You have no lawful reason to detain me. I have committed no crime, and I am leaving." She turned back to her car. "I didn't say you could leave." Sally grabbed her arm, spinning her around. The woman pulled free, and that's when Sally heard it, that tone, that confidence. "My name is Judge Karen Guyon. I am a federal district court judge, and you are currently—" "You?" Sally laughed. "You look more like a defendant." The woman's voice dropped to ice. "Step away from me. Now." Sally's hand moved before her brain caught up. The slap cracked through the garage like thunder. "You don't walk away from me." Judge Guyon's glasses lay shattered on the concrete. Blood trickled from her split lip. She didn't wipe it away. She just stood there, looking at Sally with that expression. Pity mixed with certainty. Sally heard footsteps. Running. Multiple sets. Within 90 seconds, the parking garage flooded with people. 3 security officers burst from the stairwell. 2 attorneys who'd been walking to their cars stopped dead in their tracks. A court reporter carrying a transcript case froze. And stepping out of the elevator came Federal Marshal Patricia Owens, her hand already moving toward her weapon. Sally's mind raced. She had to control this, had to flip the script. "She assaulted me," Sally shouted, pointing at Judge Guyon. "I tried to question her and she attacked. I defended myself. You all saw it. No one moved. No one spoke." Patricia walked forward slowly, her eyes locked on Sally. She'd worked federal courthouse security for 17 years. She'd known Judge Karen Guyon for 20 of them. They'd had coffee together just that morning. "Officer McGinnis," Patricia said quietly, her voice steady as stone. "I need you to put your hands behind your back." "What?" "No. She attacked." "We have 16 cameras in this garage," Patricia interrupted. "I've already reviewed the footage. All of it." Sally's stomach dropped. "I was defending. Hands behind your back. Now." "You're making a mistake," Sally said, her voice cracking. Patricia pulled out her handcuffs, her face expressionless. "No, Officer McGinnis. You already made it." The cuffs clicked shut. Sally looked at the 7 witnesses staring at her in silence. Not one of them looked away. Chief Martin Rourke was reviewing overtime budgets when his desk phone rang. The number on the caller ID was the courthouse main line. He almost didn't answer. "Rourke." "Chief, this is Robert Chun, courthouse security. We have a situation. One of your officers just assaulted a federal judge in the parking garage." The spreadsheet on Rourke's screen blurred. "What?" "Officer Sally McGinnis. She slapped Judge Karen Guyon. We have it on camera. All of it." Rourke's face went white. Karen Guyon. He knew that name. He knew her. 7 years ago, she'd presided over his daughter Emma's adoption hearing, had looked at him and his wife with such warmth and said, "This child is lucky to have you." He still had the photo from that day on his desk. "Jesus Christ," he whispered. He'd known McGinnis was a problem. 23 excessive force complaints over 18 years. But her numbers were good: arrests, citations, stops. She closed cases. The union protected her. He'd convinced himself the complaints were just part of the job, that some officers attracted more scrutiny. Now she'd assaulted a federal judge. He had a choice: circle the wagons, protect one of his own, hope the union lawyers could spin it, or cut her loose and save the department from the firestorm that was coming. Rourke thought of Judge Guyon's kind eyes. He thought of his daughter. He opened his desk drawer and pulled out the FBI field office contact card. His hand shook as he dialed. "This is Chief Martin Rourke, Metro PD. I need to report an assault on a federal official by one of my officers." "Yes, I'll hold." He closed his eyes. McGinnis was done. By 11 p.m., Sally McGinnis sat in an interrogation room at the FBI field office, no longer wearing her badge. They'd taken it at 6:15 p.m., along with her service weapon, her credentials, and any illusion that this would blow over. Suspended without pay, pending federal charges. The police union rep had been clear. "Federal charges against a federal official? We can't touch this, Sally. You're on your own." Her lawyer was a tired-looking public defender named Richard Moss, who met her the next morning in a windowless conference room. He didn't waste time with pleasantries. "You assaulted a federal judge," he said flatly, sliding the criminal complaint across the table. "On camera, in a courthouse, with 7 witnesses. The U.S. attorney is personally handling this case because they want to make an example out of you. I can't plea bargain. I can't negotiate. The best I can do is try to keep you out of maximum security." Sally stared at the paperwork, her hands trembling. But she was disrespectful. She was a 68-year-old cancer survivor walking to her car, Moss interrupted. "And you slapped her hard enough to split her lip. Do you understand what's happening here? Your career is over. Your pension is gone. You're looking at 6 to 8 years minimum." Sally couldn't breathe. When she got home that afternoon, her husband Brad was waiting in the driveway. He'd spent 18 years defending her tough approach, telling their friends she was just doing her job in a dangerous world. He handed her an envelope without making eye contact. "Divorce papers." "I can't do this anymore, Sal," he said quietly. "I just can't." He walked back inside and locked the door. The FBI investigation moved fast. Within a week, Special Agent Victoria Reese had assembled a task force to review Sally McGinnis's entire service record. What they found was damning. 23 excessive force complaints filed over 18 years. 21 of them involved black citizens. 16 had been dismissed for lack of evidence, which meant it was the complainant's word against a police officer's. And police officers, the system had decided, were more credible. But federal investigators didn't care about departmental politics. They started making calls. Old complaints were reopened. Witnesses who'd been ignored the first time suddenly had agents taking their statements seriously. Body cam footage that had been marked corrupted or lost was miraculously recovered from backup servers. The picture emerged, frame by frame, stop by stop. Marcus Johnson, 2019. Traffic stop for erratic driving that escalated to a chokehold. Complaint dismissed. Shanice Williams, 2021. Arrested for disorderly conduct after asking why she was being detained. Bruises on both wrists. Complaint dismissed. Terrell Davis, 2017. Stopped while jogging in his own neighborhood. Forced to the ground. Knee to the back. Complaint dismissed. The list went on and on. Agent Reese ran the numbers. In a district that was 40% black, 92% of McGinnis's arrests were of black citizens. 92%. She pulled up the parking garage footage one more time, watching Sally's face as she called Judge Guyon you people, watching the contempt, the rage, the absolute certainty that she had the right. Reese closed her laptop. This wasn't a mistake, she said to her partner. This was a pattern, and we're going to document every single incident. The courthouse security footage leaked on a Tuesday. By Wednesday morning, it had 17 million views. The video showed everything in brutal high-definition clarity. Sally McGinnis approaching an elderly woman in a mauve suit. The woman turning, polite and confused. Sally stepping into her space, aggressive, confrontational. The woman trying to leave. Sally grabbing her arm, spinning her around. The woman identifying herself calmly. I am a federal district court judge. And Sally's face twisting with contempt. Then the slap. Judge Guyon's glasses flying off and skittering across concrete. The blood on her lip. Sally screaming, "You don't walk away from me." And, "You people always think you're above the law." The video went viral. Not just viral, nuclear. By Thursday, protesters surrounded the police station. 300 people holding signs. Badge doesn't mean immunity, and justice for Judge Guyon. News vans lined the street. Sally's name trended on social media for 4 straight days. Someone found her home address. She woke up Friday to spray paint across her garage door. Racist. Her car windows were smashed. Neighbors who'd known her for years suddenly had nothing to say when she checked the mail. Saturday afternoon, her daughter Kaylee's school called. The principal's voice was carefully neutral. Mrs. McGinnis, several parents have expressed concerns. They're uncomfortable with you attending school events or pickup. We think it's best if your husband handles those responsibilities going forward. Sally sat in her half-empty house. Brad had taken most of the furniture and watched her face on the evening news for the 6th time that week. She was radioactive, untouchable in all the wrong ways. The trial of United States versus Sally McGinnis lasted 3 days. It could have lasted 3 hours given the evidence, but federal procedure required thoroughness. The prosecution presented 16 security camera angles, 7 witness testimonies, bodycam footage from McGinnis's patrol history showing a pattern of escalation. Expert analysis on racial bias in policing. The FBI's statistical breakdown. 92% of her arrests were black citizens in a district that was only 40% black. Richard Moss begged Sally not to testify. They have everything they need to convict you. Don't give them more. But Sally insisted. She was convinced she could make the jury understand. She was a good cop. She was just doing her job in impossible circumstances. The cross-examination started gently. Assistant U.S. Attorney Carmen Valdez walked Sally through her service record, her training, her oath. Then she pulled up the statistics on the courtroom monitor. Officer McGinnis, can you explain why 92% of your arrests over 18 years were of black individuals? Sally's jaw tightened. I patrolled high-crime areas. The demographics show the district is 40% black, not 92%. Maybe that's because that's who's committing the crimes. Sally snapped, her voice rising. The courtroom went silent. Someone in the gallery gasped. A juror in the front row, a black woman in her 50s, closed her eyes. Moss dropped his head into his hands. Judge Guyon sat in the back row, her face expressionless, her hands folded in her lap. But the jury saw her. They saw the woman Sally had slapped, sitting with quiet dignity while her attacker destroyed herself. The jury deliberated for 73 minutes. Guilty on all counts. Sentencing day arrived on a cold morning in January. Sally McGinnis, now 43 years old, stood before Judge Daniel Hartwell in the same federal courthouse where she'd slapped Judge Guyon 4 months earlier. She wore an orange jumpsuit. Her hair had gone gray at the temples. She looked 10 years older than her booking photo. Judge Hartwell read the sentence without emotion. 6 to 8 years for assault on a federal official, with concurrent sentences for civil rights violations under color of law. Eligible for parole after serving 85%. Sally's knees buckled. The bailiff steadied her. As they led her toward the side door in shackles, she saw Judge Guyon sitting in the gallery. Their eyes met. Judge Guyon stood. "Your Honor, may I address the defendant?" Judge Hartwell nodded. Judge Guyon walked to the railing, her movements still careful, still dignified. She looked at Sally for a long moment. "Officer McGinnis," she said quietly, "I forgave you the moment you struck me, but forgiveness is not the same as freedom from consequence. I hope you use your time to understand the difference." Sally opened her mouth but found no words. 3 months into her sentence at Federal Correctional Institution Hazleton, Sally sat in the common room watching the evening news. The anchor announced new appointments to the Federal Prison Reform Commission, a task force overseeing conditions and rehabilitation programs across the system. The screen showed Judge Karen Guyon taking the oath, her hand on a Bible. Judge Guyon will have oversight authority over 12 facilities in the Mid-Atlantic region, including FCI Hazleton. Sally's coffee cup slipped from her hands. The woman she tried to humiliate would now shape every day of the next 6 years of her life. The warrior had finally met an authority she could not intimidate, could not escape, and could not deny.